Good afternoon. Pete Wildebohr.
Present.
Melissa Mason.
Here.
Josie Barnhart.
Here.
Pat Bradford.
I am here.
Stephanie Craybill.
Here.
Hugh McManus.
Here.
And Stephanie Walker.
Here.
Thank you, board members. Welcome back. Feels like we were just here, kind of like last week anyway. We will continue on with the approval of the agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Mason, Ms. Bradford, thank you. Any discussion?
We're approving the agenda?
Yes.
Is this appropriate to make a motion that we suspend this discussion until after the hearing? I mean, after the public hearing?
You could make such a motion.
Well, I just was trying to look at some eyeballs, and I don't want to do it if we're going to vote no, but I just wanted to reiterate that I thought that this would be more appropriate after we heard from parents, but
Okay.
I won't make a motion.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Passes 7-0. At this point, Ms. Mason, did you want to make a motion?
I do. I move that we delay the timetable that's stated in the district's letter to Mosley parents and students by 2 weeks to allow those parents and students the opportunity to make decisions if needed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
I know I'm not a board member,
Yes, sir.
but can I add the entire district? And the reason why everyone else is going on the entire process for other schools continues the application process. So if everyone freezes, then it holds everything. But if not, the rest of the district continues, which would give the Mosley students a disadvantage.
Are we in the discussion phase, Mr.
We're
Chair?
almost.
Okay, sorry.
She's going to maybe possibly amend her, or change
How
her,
I can add that in.
say for the whole district. instead of-
Oh, hang on. I wasn't expecting that. I had it all thought out. All right, I got it.
Okay. Read your motion, please.
All right, I'm going to amend my motion. I move that we delay the district timetable that is stated in the district's letter to Mosley parents and students by 2 weeks to allow those parents and students the opportunity to make decisions if needed.
Okay. Did you still second that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
So,
Ms. Bragg?
I am a little concerned about this timeline delay for, and I'm looking at, I was just at a meeting earlier late last week. We have about 1,750 eighth graders that we're talking about. And then we're talking about 8,500 other students that could possibly be eligible to apply to a signature program, either as a first-time person or as a transfer. So although I feel for the 43 students that we're talking about, I don't think it is a good, sound business decision and in the best interest of our district to hold up for 9,000 students what we could easily just decide that are we going to continue the Mosley program or are we not? So this is a lot of students that we're talking about delaying for, and I just don't. It was like roughly 1,750 what we heard at the CDLA meeting, and then about 8,500 students. Like if you look at, and we got these numbers earlier on when we were talking about, AP and IB classes, the number of high school students with that. So, we're talking a lot of kids who are waiting. And then that means maybe not a lot of teachers, but the teachers that will support those programs, are also kind of waiting for that. So that's just my thoughts.
Okay, I'm going to jump in before Ms. Barnhart, because I wrote something down, did some research and stuff. So fellow members, as we approach the question, I feel we need to try and clear up a question whether or not the Career Readiness Academy at Mosley is a school or a program, which I think is an important first step in this discussion. I sent the superintendent and our board attorney that very question via email, and instead of getting a clear answer that I had hoped for, the waters became, in my opinion, more muddy. Our attorney responded that he feels that the CRA Mosley is a school and the board has the authority to close it. only that the board has the authority to close it. Our superintendent responded that CRA Mosley is a program, so he has the authority to close it. I forwarded the answers to the board. I don't know that you all received that, but I did, as I had said, try to do that. So if you didn't, I will do the try again. The attorney also said that any authority not specifically given to the superintendent rests with the board. In reflecting on this, there are two important things, I think, to ponder. One is CRA Mosley at Mosley assigned a school number by the state? If so, which it is, it's 650, 355. Will that number cease to exist if the CRA portion or program is closed? Similarly, would New Hanover High School cease to exist if the Lyceum program closed at New Hanover? Not saying it is, please understand it is not closing, but I'm saying similarly, if the program closed, would that number cease? Second, will the principal at CRA Mosley remain at Mosley? If not, it is pretty clear, in my opinion, that we have a school closing. One community member mentioned the possibility of moving the program to New Hanover High School, which would be a cost savings. I must also say that I'm disappointed that there was no effort by our central office to investigate alternative funding sources for CRA Mosley to my, as far as I know, and that if the program school is not doing well or doing what it was intended to, why weren't there proactive steps taken to get it up to standard? At this time, I would suggest that members each be given 2 to 3 minutes to express their thoughts on this matter, and then we vote on Ms. Mason's motion. So I'm going to ask Ms. Barnhart, why don't you go next, and we'll go right down the line.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a few questions with this motion. I like the idea of having additional time to research some things, but the question becomes to me, what additional information do we need prior to that 2-week deadline to make a different informed decision? And so for me, I do hesitate to allow the postponing, like Ms. Crable said, of expanding to a lot more students. From my understanding, the 43 students are given priority at all of our specialty high schools, but I'd like to know the criteria, what additional criteria we will be receiving in 2 weeks, such that we can come back to the table if we're planning to make a different decision or the same decision, because hearing that we have $11 million in budget cuts is very concerning, and when you're looking through the eyes of what are we going to do, if I know that there's a funding source secured, I think that's a very different conversation than hypothetically saying keep it and then finding the funding. So that is really where my discussion lies tonight. Prior to voting, I'd like to know the criteria, what we want to come back to the table with and have in hand that we haven't already heard.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Mason?
As it pertains to that, we're all aware we're meeting with the commissioners tomorrow, and I think that that's going to be an important part of the conversation. And I think that may sway people one way or the other. It may not. But I think that any amount of time that we give our parents and our students is beneficial to the district, to be quite honest. We want to do what's best for all of our students, even if it is only a small fraction. Additionally, this is a one-time thing. I don't believe that this is going to be necessary any other time. And so I believe that these are very extenuating circumstances, that we are under the gun to make this decision. And we need more time, and our parents and our students need more time.
You want to say anything else at that point? Okay. All right, Ms. Bradford, please.
I'm still extremely uncomfortable with the way this thing happened. It had to be in the planning for some time, and we were sort of completely left out of it, almost cut out of it. I find that objectionable. My heart goes out to the students. They were placed in that environment for a reason. Many of them would like to graduate from their school, just like the Williston students graduated or wanted to graduate, and we had a legacy graduation to make up for that mistake that the district had made. I'm not 100% sure that dispersing these students, these particular students, out among the other specialty schools is what's in their best interest. You know, it's like being a doctor and you take an oath to harm no one. We get sworn into this, don't harm children. So I don't want to harm our children. I don't have enough information. We've seen a lot of emails in the last couple of days, and So after Ms. Mason makes her motion, I am going to offer a motion to have a cost analysis to reimagine the cost of Career Readiness Academy, the program at Mosley High School to be moved inside of another school, a school within a school, as we have out there several other places. For example, not saying send it to this school, but for example, nearby New Hanover High School. I'd like to see a cost analysis on that. And my motion will have two parts, keeping the students in the same building, because surely one of those was done before this decision was made. So I'd like that information shared with us. And then the part B is creating the school within an existing school, an analysis of that. So that's where I'm coming from tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Bradford. Mr. McManus.
Thank you. I hesitate to consider postponing because of close to 9,000 students versus 43. And with 43, can we not do anything we want to, manipulate it as you so fit, versus 8,000, almost 9,000 students? So that's the biggest thing for me, is to postpone for two. I mean, that's a big differentiation. 43 kids, we can do anything with 43 kids. You can postpone them. I can't imagine with everything we've gone through. Add to that my understanding, and I think we all heard the same thing, is we've lost $11 million. Quote from the SOUP, we have no money. And what was the cost to maintain the school? Just along 2 million, 2.5? 2.1, okay. And was that included in the 10 or 11 million when you were talking about what we needed?
No, that would go back into, no, that would be additional.
So it would be at 2.1 to 11, 13 point? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McManus. Ms. Walker, please.
Oh, thank you. Turn this on. Well, first, it seems clear to me the will of the board is to have a further discussion on this. So I think it makes sense to at least give a little bit more time. Should a decision be made at our next meeting, it makes sense to me. I will say that I feel like in a way we were kind of put here as a board on this. We weren't consulted about it. And I know that at the meeting we were discussing the newcomer center, which I'm not against. I didn't know that this was going to happen. And so I think we were all people were asking us, did you know? And no, I did not. And I don't like that part of it, especially since it's, our students we're talking about. We recruited kids to this program for a reason. They accepted. And I feel like we should see that through. That's just my opinion. And lastly, I would like to get more clarity, on, the decision. I would like to verify some of the numbers. I would like to know more about the details, because I think if we really were going to do this, we should have maybe had an ad hoc committee formed to look at the cost, to look at the timeline. I just think the fact that so many students were recruited for the program, and just to turn around and say, okay, no, well, we done, we can't afford it, I just think, to me, is not fair. And the bottom line is it affects Mosley students to the core, and that concerns me tremendously. I cannot unsee or unhear what I heard the students say to us when they came last time. So I can't ignore it, and as a board member, I don't think any of us should.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Ms. Mason, this time, would you please reread your motion?
Mr. Will?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we go back down?
Sure. One more time?
If anybody has anything else to say?
Let's limit it to 1 minute this time,
Yeah.
please. Okay.
No, I
Ms. Graybill?
had some follow-up questions. The email that you sent us about that we seem to be in conflict between our legal counsel and our superintendent.
Okay.
If you look at policy 2460, it is let me pull it back up. It's called Administration in Policy Absence. And it says the Board of Education delegates to the superintendent of schools the power to act in cases in which the board has not provided policy statements to guide administrative action. The superintendent shall give full consideration to the spirit of other existing policies. The superintendent shall inform the board promptly of such action and of whether a policy should be developed to cover similar incidents. So I think that we are covered by our policy, that the superintendent is able to make the decision about a program in that. And Mosley was, a long time ago, was given a number because it was its own building. But we have, since the time it started, and I believe the number back was like 2007, the Bill Gates Foundation gave us the money. We have moved it, to another location. So we just changed the building, but we've been changing the program, for a number of years, including the Career Readiness Academy that was dissolved in 2016. So I just wanted to say that, and I just wanted to reiterate what Ms. Barnhart said. What information are we expecting to see within the next 2 weeks? When our central office staff is working on the budget, working on their jobs. So I think we should come away with what are we expecting to see before we cast our vote.
Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you, Mr. Wildebohr. My further point, after hearing Ms. Bradford speak, specifically in regards to the cost analysis of potentially moving or restaffing and having like a school within a school, is that something that we would be able to have in that 2-week timeframe? Again, for me personally, I don't know, without having some criteria in place, coming together in 2 weeks with the same information is the same information. So if we're not going to come together with new information in 2 weeks, then I'm having a hard time postponing for 2 weeks with zero new information. So I'm just curious. I like the idea of having a cost analysis and being able to potentially brainstorm together. Like fellow board members, how this has all come about, I think the board, we could have been informed a little bit better. I'll say that nicely. But if we're thinking the 2-week time frame, I'd really like to know if we are going to be able to have a cost analysis of potentially different options. And if not, then again, I don't know.
I've already said what my part. Anything?
Well, I respect my colleagues' opinion. Not having enough time to make a decision is not a good enough reason not to take the time to do it. My question would be, we have a program that's there, there's a K-2 program that's there that wouldn't move. Don't we have kindergarten there?
Pre-K.
Pre-K,
Pre-K.
sorry, that's what I meant.
We have 3 programs over there.
Yeah, we have 3. So you still have to have people in the building for the kindergarten program.
Grant there, that's a different fund of
And
money.
the principal?
Yes, it's a different fund of money.
Okay, I read the legal interpretation. I don't have a law degree, so I can't make law decisions. I haven't passed the bar in the state. But in reading the letter from the attorney, strongest legal interpretation that the decision to terminate the program lies with this board. To me, that's pretty cut and dry, not with the superintendent system, not with the superintendent. So to answer that question you asked in the beginning, I would say that the decision to do this resides with us, and I'm going to strongly stick to that.
Mr. McManus, anything else?
I'm just curious, these expenses per student, is this current, updated, that was included in this? Okay. So if I'm reading this correctly, the average high school in Hanover County, Hanover, Hoggett, Ashley, Laney, C-Tech, Isaac Bear, early college is about $12,000 per student. It says Mosley's almost $30,000 per student. And that's funded at the same manner?
Yes, sir.
So the local
28,051.
funds,
It's still local.
not all of these are local.
Anything else, Mr. McManus?
No, sir.
Ms. Walker?
Thank you. I had a couple points I was thinking about. I know we're going to look at data here, and like I said before, and I'll say it again, I feel like, yes, it's important. All these statistics are important, but I know from my own experience that sometimes getting through and graduating is very important, and it's a milestone for some kids, and I will say that was important in my own life. So I understand, the data, the college readiness, the work key, all those things, but Mosley clearly was a different type of environment in school for students. So I would like to say that. Second thing, I know we're getting thrown out 9,000 students. I would like to hear more about that, because are we saying that's all the eighth graders that are going into high school? Well, a lot of them know where they're going already, so I don't really know. I would like to question that number, whether how many are actually going to the specialty program. So I can't believe 9,000 kids are doing that. But, maybe I'm wrong. But I would like to hear more, and that's another reason to vote to have more time.
Okay, Thank you, Ms. Walker. Ms. You. Yeah.
Mason?
Would you please reread your things?
I move that we delay the district timetable that's stated in the district's letter to Mosley parents and students by 2 weeks to allow those parents and students the opportunity to make decisions if needed.
Thank you, Ms. Mason. Ms. Bowie, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Mason,
Did you read the part where it says the rest of district?
Yeah.
The district timetable, yes.
District.
Okay,
Yes.
so we sent that one out, so you want to say the entire specialty timeline?
Mm-hmm.
That'll just capture
Yes.
everyone,
Yeah.
instead of the Mosley timeline.
Right.
If you leave that one out, just say the
Okay.
district.
Ms. Bowie, please call the roll.
Ms. Mason,
Yes.
Ms. Craybill,
No.
Ms. Bradford,
Yes.
Mr. McManus,
No.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Barnhart,
No.
and Mr. Wildebohr.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, passes 4-3.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to make a motion.
Go
I would
ahead.
like to move that the staff share with us their cost analysis on keeping the students in the building and bring to us a cost analysis of creating a school within a school, for example, the nearby New Hanover High School, which is under occupancy at this point.
Second.
First and second,
Comment?
discussions? Ms.
The,
Craybill?
I would like to amend that motion to have a timeline in there. By when do you want this?
By our February meeting?
Because we're going to have another
I would think it
meeting.
would coincide with Ms. Mason's motion, yes, or the February meeting.
At the February meeting?
What's,
Is that 2 weeks?
let me look at the calendar.
Let's count it out.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. And board members, just a reminder, we do need this meeting needs to be concluded in the next 8 minutes, so just reminding people about that, so we can get into the next one. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, Ms. Craybill?
If we're going to do it at the next board meeting, then we've already outlived our motion of 2 weeks. Right? Because we're at the 16th right now, and the 23rd would be week 1, the 30th would be week 2, February 6th would be week 3. So we're going to have,
The timetable that was listed on the letter says that
It's 2
the,
weeks from February 2nd.
says the second is the end time for the application process. 2 weeks from now.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
So just to, I'm in favor of this motion, but just to clarify, saying having a cost analysis of potentially moving and creating a school within a school prior to the next board meeting. That's, you want it before the timetable of hers. So in
Yes,
order for us to
yes.
have the presentation, whether it's at the agenda review or our board meeting, as long as, because if we're making a decision in February, then we need to have that information prior.
It's two-part. I want to see the cost analysis for keeping it where it is, because the Shirley one was done.
You have that, that's,
Okay.
you have that one. That's in your PowerPoint.
That's the 28,000.
No, that's.
would be due.
2 million?
And the second part is picking any choice. I'm just saying, for example, we know that New Hanover is under enrollment now, so that, and it's nearby, so that, and we've had so many letters suggesting that very same thing.
Okay.
I think we owe it to doing it that way.
All right, Ms. Craybill.
so we need to do a cost-benefit analysis for each of the high schools where it could go. Is that what we're asking? And are we at, so what are you asking? You only want to do a cost-benefit analysis for Hanover? I'm just trying to get clarity so I know how to vote.
Well, obviously, it couldn't go into a school that's over enrollment now.
So it would have to be New Hanover.
So I think it wouldn't take but a second to identify which schools possibly could go into it.
Okay, so that's probably more than one high school. And then the second thing is, when do we expect that this would go into play? Are we talking about if we get a cost-benefit analysis and we vote to put it someplace else, would this go into play for school year 24-25?
I think that would be up to the will of the board.
Well, then what do we do with the kids when we say, okay, we want to put it someplace else, but we don't have a place to put it when the school year starts, and we've already sent these kids out looking for new places? So I think we need to be a little more specific.
Well, I think, but the question is, we were just looking for the cost analysis. We're not, not going down the road yet at this point. She's just asking for that. Okay. We are just about out of time. Ms. Bowie, please call the roll.
Ms. Mason,
Yes.
Ms. Craybill,
No.
Ms. Bradford,
Yes.
Mr. McManus,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Barnhart,
Yes.
and Mr. Wildebohr.
Yes, that passes 6-1. That ends our discussion time for this meeting, which we'll have another meeting in about 3 minutes. But I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a first and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you, board members. We will give you a 5-minute break as we switch over, and we will start promptly at 5 o'clock. Thank you.